Hi, this is a regular magazine. I'm Jason, and in this episode, we're going to look at the Orc Horde from Wargames Atlantic. The Orc Horde is part of their classic fantasy battles range. It's roughly 10mm, hard plastic. They have said that they are coming out with more armies in this range. Currently, the Orc Horde is available, and I believe that, there's a new set come out before dwarves. Anyway, without further ado, let's check out and have a look at what the miniatures actually look like. So this is the Orc Horde from the classic Fantasy Battles range by Wargames Atlantic. Now, I'm really liking the artwork on the box cover. It kind of gives me that feel of the sort of 80s looking orcs before they were sort of turned into cartoon caricatures. Now, this hard plastic box set contains three frames with 84 figures for a total of 250 figures in a box, along with 40 by 20 dual use bases. And basically, from this box, you can build 6 bases of bowmen, 3 bases of spearmen, 3 light swordsmen, 3 bases of heavy swordsmen, 3 bases of heavy axemen, and 12 warg riders or wolf riders, whatever you want to call them, along with 15 command and 9 casualties. And like I said before, these are 10mm scale. So, this is our sprues. So we get 3 sprue of bases, and we'll just move those to one side. And then we get 3 bases that are exactly the same. So, what do we get on our sprue? So we get some single miniatures that look like command and various other bits and pieces. We've got casualties. We've got our axemen, our spearmen, our archers, our swords. We've also got command. Each sprue has got 4 wolf or warg riders, depending on which one you would call them. And again, we've got more spearmen, more axemen, and more archers. I'll get some close-ups of these to drop over the top so you can get a better look at them. I mean, overall, they're a pretty good set. The sculpts are really nice, and there's quite a lot of detail on these, considering they are a 10mm. Now, what I will say, the last 10mm from Wargames Atlantic I looked at was a samurai, and my biggest issue with the samurai was the spears, and they were too thin. They broke far easier, and if we can see on the spearmen down here, those spears are a lot thicker, so there's a bit of give in those. Whereas the samurai, they were quite spindly and would easily break. And I've also noticed that there on most of these, none of the attachment points are on the spears, and that was a big issue with the samurai. So when you try to clip them off, it was a 50-50 chance whether they break or not. So they've made some improvements in that regard, and yet the spear handles do look a little bit big for this scale. But to be honest, that doesn't bother me when I know they're not going to snap when I try to clip them off the frame. And to be honest, once these are ranked up, painted, you ain't going to notice that those are quite thick spear handles. overall, I am quite impressed with the quality of these. Normally at this scale, you tend to lose a bit of definition and a bit of they tend to sort of lose a bit of quality if you compare them to larger scale miniatures. But these are pretty good. There's a lot of detail on them. That detail isn't really lost at that scale. At this scale, you can actually see the detail on these from tabletop height. They're not just going to be You're not just going to be looking at a blob on a base. These are very good quality for 10mm, and especially 10mm plastic. So that's basically the frame, sprue, so to speak. Anyway, let's give my final thoughts. Yeah, they're quite a nice set. You get quite a good a range of variety of unit types in this one box, and I'm pretty confident saying a couple of boxes, and you've got yourself a good sized, nice army, and 2 boxes in the UK is going to cost you anywhere between £50 to £60, depending on where you purchase them from. So we're looking at under $100 in the US for an army. So price wise, it's a good price point. I mean, you can't really moan about that. The quality of the sculpt's really nice hard plastic. The spears aren't spindly; they're quite robust for this scale, and especially when you compare them to these guys. I mean, those spears were shockingly spindly, and the connection points were on there. They break. It was just a bad idea, I think, putting the connection points on those spindly spears, and they had a tendency to snap if you weren't careful. But they've avoided that this time, made the spears a little bit thicker, a bit more robust, so they're less likely to break. And the detail on them is really good. I mean, the detail on the samurai were pretty good. On these orcs, they're really nice. So, I mean, I think I'll make another box, and I should have, I think, a reasonably good army. And then later on in the year, I think I'll probably pick up a couple of boxes of dwarves to build a 10mm dwarf army. And anyone that's looking at playing mass battle in fantasy, I would go down the route now. Look at 10mm. 10mm is a perfect scale. £60. You've got yourself a good army. It will store in quite a small, reasonably space. You don't need masses of space to store it. Especially when you compare it to having a 28mm army of that scale, of that old size, I mean, rather than scale. You imagine putting together that many units in 28mm and how many boxes you would need to store it. So I think this is the right move for Wargames Atlantic to go into this scale and in with fantasy. And then, if, like I said, anyone that's looking to move into a small scale, these are perfect. And I personally think these days, dropping down a scale from 28 for mass battle is a better choice, in my opinion. And whilst I like 28mm, I prefer it for skirmish level games. So at the biggest skirmish level sort of game I would in 20mm, I'd play as Saga. But if I'm doing mass battle, this is the scale choice. Down 15mm. Anyway, that's all for this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.